Move on to the Kentucky recruiting class, smaller recruiting class, because of course Mark Pope did bring in quite a few transfers to provide that immediate impact as well. But the three guys that they got, I thought were really fascinating. Jasper Johnson, he headlines it. He's the one who has that electric scoring punch from the guard position. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see what kind of um, path he takes when it comes to his potential, because this is something that we've talked about a lot when we discuss what players become. At this age, they're still developing, they're still finding out what kind of player they're going to be. When I watch him play, he's got a lot of different pieces to his game. Does he want to be the pure scorer who just goes out there and gets buckets? Does he want to be a guy who is getting into the paint and develops a little bit more of that kick out ability in addition to his athleticism helping him get to his spots to score? What is the next step for Jasper Johnson as he develops his game at the college level?
Streamlining his game. As you mentioned, he's got the tools. He's got deep shooting range. He's got tons of confidence in his game. Now it's just about kind of really consolidating it down. As he continued throughout high school, his confidence continued to gain, and there became a lot of inefficiencies later on in his high school career, with not necessarily knowing his spots on the floor and how to get to them. That's going to be key. We saw him at this summer's U19 USA, and his game was streamlined. He wasn't taking the wild, erratic 32-foot jump shots. He was taking the one dribble pull up, getting to the elbow, knocking it down. He was taking the catch and shoots from the corner. When his game is that way, it really opens up the spacing on the floor. He pulls gravity naturally with his game. And then once he kind of consolidates things, learns where his game is most effective at, then he can add to it, showing the athleticism. Then he can add to it, maybe getting something off the bounce going right. He does have that athletic feel. He does have that length, and he does have that shooting ability. Now it's all about putting it all together and finding the efficiency within his game, which he struggled with a little bit later in his high school career. So it's going to be all about Mark Pope finding it within that system, consolidating things down, and getting the very best out of Jasper Johnson, which, again, as you mentioned, the upside with that's pretty high.
Yeah, there's a lot to like there. It's putting the pieces together, and he's going to be given an opportunity to do that. I think that Mark Pope is a really good coach for him because it's all about team first. It's all about culture. And Mark Pope, I think, is going to find that balance of give him the leash, let him go out there and do his thing. But once it starts to have that negative impact, if he gets to those inefficient looks, if it starts to impact the points on the scoreboard, it starts to impact the lead that they have in a certain game, he's got the guys to go to, the veterans who are just out there. You put in Denzel Aberdeen to replace him, and suddenly he's going to see what it looks like to just be the connector, to just work within the system. I like that for him. Malachi Moreno, another guy who's going to have a lot of opportunity to learn from those around him. I don't think he's going to get big minutes at the center, especially as the season goes on, and we talk more about Jaden Quaintance, but an interesting center prospect who I think has the potential to really add to his game and become somebody that we're talking about at a high level, whether it's college or at the next level.
So for me, Moreno was the headliner of this class coming in, and I think that he's got enough of a game where you mentioned, I think that he could possibly force his way into some rotational minutes growing as the season goes. Coming into this, coming out of high school, Moreno was in my seeings and my viewings of him, rebounding. I saw him with multiple 20 rebound games throughout the course of his high school career. Of course, you sit there and say he's 7 foot, biggest guy on the floor, and all that type of stuff. But it's still,
right,
easy for a 7-footer to get pushed off their spot in high school. For a guy to build the leverage with him, get underneath him, push him away, get it out of position, and all that. He still rebounded the basketball in traffic, strong two hands, and that's a huge factor. He's got some natural touch. He has to clean up a little hitch in his jump shot, but he's got some natural touch. He's got great hands around the basket, finished left hand, right hand. He started to develop a counter off of those go-to moves later in his high school career. I think there's a very real opportunity as he continues to gain strength, as he continues to gain confidence in what he's got going, to be able to force his way onto some dependable minutes as the season goes along with Malachi Moreno. Now, because of that rotation, Brandon Garrison, Jaden Quaintance, all these people around him, I'm not necessarily certain that one and done is in his future.
Right.
However, year two could be very interesting And I'm not saying that one and done's out of the question because it
No,
very well could be because he has the understanding of how to play defense. He has an understanding of the move his feet. He can finish and all that stuff. There's some upside there as a 7-footer who rebounds, defends, walls up as the season goes along. But I say all that to sit there and say Malachi Moreno, I think, is somebody who could outplay expectations in his time at Kentucky.
for sure. And they round out their group of freshmen with Braden Hawthorne, who I think is really interesting for the future. I kind of think that we put him in the same bucket as Sebastian Wilkins, where it's like if you get something from him and it can add to what this team is, you're going to be blown away. You're going to be happy with what you get out there, because he is another one of these young guys coming up. He broke out late, joins the class, and we're going to find out what he is over the course of this year, but also the years to come as he looks to make the most of his 6'8" frame on the wing.
Braden Hawthorne is one of those guys to go ahead as your NBA draft stuff to go ahead and mark his name down and monitor the development.
Mm-hmm.
The breakout could come at any point in time. There's a situation where he was a 6'2" guard early in his high school career, sprouted to 6'8", kept the guard skills, and now here we are, a young player trying to grow into his body and kind of figure out how he moves while having deep range, ability to create off the bounce, and athleticism. As he figures out his body and frame, there's a huge upside there. So it might not be year one, but year two,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and mark his name down on the NBA draft watch list and all that stuff because he checks a lot of those boxes. It's just all about when he comes into his frame, when he comes into the feel of what he brings, when he comes into understanding his body and then developing that, getting stronger, and then getting adjusted to the speed of the game. There's a lot there. Like I said, might be year one, year two, year three, whatever it is, but when it hits,
Yeah.
he's going to open a lot of eyes, and it's going to be very intriguing. The upside is so high, and don't know when it's going to hit. Don't know when that's going to happen. It sounds like talking to people around the program that he's coming along very nicely, and the expectations are again not for right now, but the expectations long term are very high for him, and he's continuing to progress. But when that hits, it's going to be very intriguing, eye opening to watch.
Yeah. He's a guy. I mean, I said it there when I was introing him, but I've literally got on my draft board, I've got just a little section that's just him and Sebastian Wilkins. And I'm just watching. I'm just waiting. Maybe I have to copy and paste it to the 2027 file, but right now it's just sitting there. I'm just going to wait and
Yeah.
see what they're able to produce this season.